What is good, party people? This is According to Woods. And if you didn't get the tattoo right in front of you, you don't know that I have head coach of CSW, former IFS MMA champion. He is the one and only Badger Ben Jones. What up? What up,
What
Ben?
up? What up, man? Good to talk to you again. Good to finally see you again. It's been a while. We've been trying to hook up, but finally got a little break in the schedule.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's so cool. I love it because, this is something that, fuck, we used to see each other pretty much every weekend up until March.
I
And
know.
then fucking shit just went, fucking weird.
I know, man. I miss going to all the fights and stuff, but obviously, missing the characters like you guys and just seeing, all the people that I was so accustomed to by having fights every damn weekend. I want to try to get back to fucking work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, damn right. Which I gotta ask, how's the team there at CSW? Because there was a kind of a weird fucking point where everything had to shut down, but I mean, you guys got the
Yeah.
green light pretty early on.
Yeah, it's going really good over there. We had a couple fights. A couple fights maybe 2 months ago. We had 3 fights. Unfortunately, we just didn't come out on top in any of them. And I don't think that was due to the quarantine or none of that bullshit. No excuses. It just didn't pan out for us. So since then I just had to go back into the laboratory and get these guys all squared away and just keep fucking grinding out every single day. I changed a little bit of the tactics of the way that I was training these guys and coaching these guys, and I hope that we got that issue fixed. But I was a little bit lax in that sort of quarantine period because we had no real fights. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
was on the horizon. I mean, everybody was so unsure. And then when I finally got the notice of Jake and Curtis fighting, and then with the last minute adding of Jackie fighting on that LFA card, I had to push. I had to push hard and fast for them, and it just didn't work out. I mean, shit. We were undefeated up until that point in 2020, and we had to lick our wounds a little bit and change the way we were doing some shit. But I'm hoping I got it fixed now. So
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be remiss not to talk about it because just announced. I mean, again, Curtis probably has his biggest fight of his career for Bellator in
yeah.
one Joe Schilling. Holy shit!
Yeah, this is a fight that's supposed to have happened a few times at this point already, but for whatever reason, it never worked out. This was actually the original opponent that they threw at us before his last one. So, and then a couple things happened, and two or three different opponents pulled out, which is we ended up fighting the other guy. But this is a fight Curtis has really been won. I feel really good about this fight. I feel like this is the opportunity for Curtis to really show that he's one of the world's best strikers. I have a feeling Joe's going to try to take him down. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? You know what I mean? I just know that I'm trying to prepare my guy as best as possible for every single outcome. And that with Curtis, that just comes in trying to push him in training and get him out of his comfort zone. And we'll see what happens. Come whatever October 14th or 15th, whatever it is, next Thursday, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's one personally that I, as a fight fan, I fucking love, right? But as a friend of both and a friend of both gyms, I'm just like, fuck, I
Yeah.
hate it, you know?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm actually a little bit disappointed that they tucked us away on the prelims, but I think this is a main card fight. I mean, you have two strikers like this and two fighters in general, two guys that are going to go to war, and it's going to be a good fight. You're going to see some dynamic things.
Yeah,
I think they hit it away. They hit it away a little bit, but at the end of the day, look, I don't give a fuck. You can put us at the first card or first fight on the card, or you could put us in the dark matches, half hour after the main event. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I'm going to go in there and corner and coach the same way, and he's going to go in there and fight the same way. So, it'll be a good thing.
hell yes. And one thing that I've obviously noticed is, and we talked about it the last time, but I mean, the kind of inclusion of core evolution and fitness with Mike Villarreal. I mean,
Yeah.
Between both of you guys, holy shit! I mean, there's 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 Coach Roybal, there's Mike, and it's just like this synergy that fucking works. And then that's not even getting into Pinnacle and Jake Bainey, and like it's just this perfect fucking pardon the pun, but evolution that's happening at CSW.
Yeah, I think CSW and I learned this from Erik Paulson, who obviously is the owner and founder of CSW, is I learned to be very open-minded about training and philosophies and ideas, and I'm always willing to be open to anybody that can bring something to the game that perhaps I don't bring, or perhaps brings it in a different way than I bring it. I believe our gym is probably the best at being sorry, this phone keeps falling off these freaking Legos. A well-rounded gym as far as striking, grappling, wrestling, everything. We have it all in house, but that doesn't mean that I don't go out and really try to seek the knowledge and expertise of other people. And Mike from Core Evolution has been a friend of mine for a really long time. He fought amateur a few times, and I actually held for him and was working on his striking with him a little bit, and would go and spar with him, or he'd come over and spar with me a little bit, getting ready for, I believe, his last amateur fight. But him and I used to work out with my original strength coach, who's Marcus Martinez, who became the lead kettlebell guy for On It. And then he has since went and started his own. I mean, he's just a leader in the industry as far as kettlebells go. And he took over my strength training midway through my career and just did some amazing things. And Mike used to be my workout partner over there. And then Mike learned a lot of kettlebells there. Plus he'd had a, extensive background in strength training and being an athlete. And then when Marcus went and did the On It thing, I didn't have a strength coach anymore. And I was right at the tail end of my career, and I was right at the beginning of getting Jake going. So I needed somebody to help, because I don't want to do it. I can do the strength thing. I mean, shit, I went to college. I played professional football. After college, in the 6 months between when I went pro and my college, I was my team strength coach. Right. I broke all the strength records for my school. Right. And so I'd had some experience. I just don't want to do it. I got too much trying to be the head coach, the pad holder, teach classes at night, teach jiu-jitsu, teach wrestling, teach catch wrestling. I got 30 guys on my team, or 30 fighters on my team, and I'm trying to hold for them. And it's just plus half the time I was their managers, and also booking them fights and negotiating. And it's a fucking lot. And at the end of the day, I was just getting too stressed out about it. And I was losing focus from where I really needed to have it, which was on coaching and making these guys better fighters and more prepared. So I made a lot of changes in this thing. And obviously one of the first ones I made was bringing Dale on as a boxing coach, which he's been great. And he's been busy lately, but we're trying to get him back into more of a bigger role again, because I really felt like we had a lot of success when he was here helping me with that. Obviously Mike is originally was just a strength coach for me and Jake, and now he's taken on almost half my team. I also have a guy named Lucius Smith, who was a very famous NFL football player. He does some unbelievable strength training. He used to be the strength coach of myself and Josh Barnett throughout our carear, and his training is just it's fucking insane. It's almost too hard. So I got four or five of the guys are going to him, and then I recently had my whole team sign with Iridium. So
wow.
Jason used to be my manager way back in the days when he was in the beginning stages of when he was managing or becoming a manager. I think he had like maybe a handful of guys, 10 guys, but it was, he had like Ruben Duran, Francisco Rivera, Bobby Green.
Mm-hmm.
He had myself and a couple other guys. And then now he's just blown up. And Iridium is such a good organization and company, and they take such good care of their fighters. And Jason and I have been talking the whole time, and he's branched out now, and he's got a bunch of really good people working for him. That one of them I had sort of known he was a promoter, and he just has a really good team around him. So I thought it was time for me and Jason to hook back up, and then I basically gave Iridium my whole team, and I have nothing but unbelievable great things to say about them. I believe that they can take us to the next level. I believe they have those connections. They're really professional about the way they do stuff. And then that's it, And I've had other help throughout, like guys from other gyms coming in. Jake Bainey from Pinnacle came in for a while. The quarantine sort of put a damper on that. We were closed for a while. He was closed, so I've since just brought back in the nucleus of my team, right?
Okay.
But I have a great relationship with Jake. I love his fighters. I think Jake's a great coach. He's having a ton of success. But for right now, I just sort of circled my wagons, and I'm putting a lot of focus into just my 30, which is a fucking lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing saying that there's not a future opportunity to work together or something like that. It's just this quarantine and this pandemic that's going on just sort of, it made me really tighten my ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to branch out a little bit more now. I took a couple of the guys over to Classic Fight Team with Tyler
Oh yeah.
Wombles.
Yeah.
I really like Tyler. I think he does some awesome shit. He's obviously got a great record with who he works with. And I took Jake and Jackie and Curtis over there and got some extra sparring in against some kickboxers. And we had a great night over there. And I believe that we'll be going back over there to get some more work in with them. But it's been great, man.
I think it's awesome. And, to kind of fill some of the names at the Iridium, obviously Jason Atlas, the major domo, but you've got
Right.
Jacob Olga, you've got Jeremy Luchow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean,
They have a great, they're really, their cohesion over there, the way they do stuff and have people in filling certain areas and certain functions of it is just so smooth now. It just works really, really well.
No, absolutely. And you got to go with what works well. And also, especially with, knowing what you're capable of, right? And what your strengths and weaknesses are. We all have them,
Right.
and, how to figure out a way to optimize such things and, really, play into the strengths, improve some of the weaknesses. But also, if you've got a lot on your plate and you're like, fuck, I can't really do anything else, then,
Yeah.
you got to delegate.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I've been trying to find somebody to do a little bit more pad holding for me, just because, fuck, man. I mean, holding for that many guys, and I'm not even holding for all of them, to be honest with you right now, just because it's just too much. And if I got 10 guys fighting, there's just not that many hours in the day, between. Plus, I'm training myself. I got a little sick a while ago when I got back from the Jake and Curtis's fights. I was basically on the road for 2 weeks. Took 8 flights. I thought I had COVID, but I didn't.
Wow. Okay.
I ended up having pneumonia, and yeah, it was bad. I had to be. My wife had to rush me to the emergency room because for 4 days I had like 104 temperature, and I just was like, no, I'm fine. But she was scared. Then I went in there. And I got pretty sick, but as soon as I got in there and got the medication, I was better, within 2 or 3 days. But, it's taken me a while. Like last week was the first week I held pads again. And it fucking wore me out. I started lifting again. Yesterday and today were the first days that I actually trained with my team again. So obviously I'm sparring and rolling and hand fighting and doing all that bullshit. But I mean, it felt better today, but I mean, I'm sitting here with a fucking ice pack on my hip right now because I'm 44 years old, and the coming back into it was a little rough. But the point being is that I need somebody that I trust, striking wise, that sort of fits our system to come in and do a little bit of help. And I have a few ideas, and there's some different people holding here and there, but I'm on the lookout. I'm on the lookout for a little bit of help. I'm on the lookout for probably a guy who's been a good striker, good at holding pads, coming towards the end of his career, and perhaps wants a little bit of mentorship when it comes to maybe evolving into the next phase, which is what I did. I went from fighter to coach, and that transition isn't always easy, right? Especially if you don't have a lot of practice at it. But I feel like I can help somebody, and I feel like somebody could walk into a really good scenario where you have 30 plus fighters, constantly growing, a team that has everything there, right? And is full of fucking killers. It's full of the next generation of killers, right? And I think it'd be a good opportunity. So I have my ears open. You know, I'm sort of doing my due diligence on, you know, looking for somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's kind of fun that I've been seeing on the socials that Curtis has kind of been getting work with one urban legend, Chris Culley. So
Absolutely, he loves the way that Chris holds for him. I have yet to. I've met Chris before. I think we've met each other at a fight a couple times. I'm sure we've been in the same circles for years. Never really had to have had a conversation with him, but I'm very excited about how Curtis feels about how he holds for him. And at the end of the day, look, well, I don't have to agree philosophy-wise with anybody else, but if my fighter enjoys the work that they're getting with this person, then I'm all for it. So I have, you know, when Curtis told me that he was going to go work with Chris, I was like, fuck, 100%. Like, go do it. Go get that work in. Right? Because sometimes, you know, you work with the same coach over and over, and I'm working on his wrestling, his grappling, his catch, his jiu-jitsu, his sparring, and holding. Sometimes you want a little bit of a fresh voice in there, which I totally get. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, and we're gonna see how it plays out. You know what I mean? So.
No, and I love it because I mean you've been there yourself, right? So I mean, who better to kind of Erik's been there himself, right? So who better to kind of, you know, sound off things from, and you know, understand, you know, what's going on in your head, in your heart, and whatever in the kind of ethosphere of a fighter's mind, body, and soul than you guys.
Yeah. I'm sort of taking it as the blueprint of sort of what I did, but trying to shave off all the mistakes I made. So Erik was my coach my whole career, and I wanted him to hold for me every single day, but he just didn't have the time between teaching classes and doing the same thing. You know, he had X amount of fighters and, you know, had all kinds of guys. And I used to try to get in when I was fighting. When I had a fight coming up, I tried to get in 2 days a week with coach, but I also recognized that I needed a little bit more, and I branched out. And that's when I found a couple really good boxing coaches that I worked with throughout my career. I also really, really got better when I went and started working with Eddie Cha. Right? Yeah. And I worked with him towards the tail end of my career. When I won my 2 belts, I was working with Eddie. So that really helped. So I'm sort of taking that blueprint as far as, you know, what I want my guys to do a little bit.
No, for sure. And I mean, you look at what Eddie Cha's done with Benson Henderson, and I mean, a litany of others. So
he's killing it. He's on that title run with Korean Zombie right now. So yeah, he's doing fantastic. So
no, 100%. Now I definitely want to get into, because I don't think a lot of people have asked you about, and we've kind of talked, you know, in between shows, whatever, but your football career, right? I mean, that's kind of wild. And the fact that you're I mean, a born Canadian. I think both.
True.
Yeah, and I didn't detect one A, and I mean we've known each other for a couple of years. I don't think I've ever heard it, or you talk
and
about.
You never will. There is none in there. I don't even use that word in a regular sentence. I just skip it. Yeah, no, I was born in Canada. My dad's from my parents are from Wales or England, but
Yeah.
my dad is Scottish. My mom's Irish and Welsh, and they lived over there. My dad was in the Royal Navy. Then they moved to England, and then I'm sorry, they moved to Canada. I was born in Vancouver, but when I was 5 months old, we moved to Orange County.
Ah,
So
okay.
technically, I never really lived there. I did go back. I got a believe it or not, I got a basketball, a soccer, and a swimming scholarship to one of the premier boarding schools in 7th grade. So I was shipped back there. I lived at the school. Ironically enough, I got kicked out after 2 terms for fighting. Yeah. So after that, they shipped me right back down to Cyprus and Los Alamitos, and then I, finished up, 8th grade and high school, and then that was it.
And where did the football come from? Obviously, you're donning a Raiders, T-shirt.
Damn
I mean,
right. Yeah.
that's a big.
Football was my original passion. Football is all I ever wanted to do in my life. I mean, at a young age, I told my dad I wanted to play professional football, and trust me when I say that, I had no other thoughts, dreams, or ambitions in my life until it was over. I was that guy that there was no TiVo or DVR, so I would have one VCR in my mom's apartment downstairs recording a game. I'd be watching another one and recording it, and then I would go back and watch it like I was breaking down film. I would rewind it. Yeah, I was a freak of fucking nature. I would skip class in high school to go run we had the drainage ditch, like the LA River, the drainage ditch, and I would just do sprints up that, or I would sneak into the weight room. I went to a really prestigious high school, Los Alamitos, back in the day, and we won 3 CIF championships when I was on on varsity all 3 years, and we were number 1 in the nation my senior year. But to my detriment, I cared more about football than I did about grades, and I ended up having to go to junior college. Plus, I was undersized. When I was a freshman in high school, I was 5 foot, 106 pounds.
Wow.
So I was little. I was tiny, but I could hit. Right at the time, I thought I was a quarterback, and the coaches were like, "No, son, you're a safety. You're tiny as shit." So I ended up playing safety. I ended up falling in love with it because I loved hitting people. I graduated and I went to the All-Star game my senior year. I was 5'7", about 170 pounds, 175 pounds, soaking wet. And then I played at Rio Hondo the first year. Then I transferred to FJC, Fullerton. And then I ended up having to redshirt there because I didn't have enough units when I transferred. And then I became the team captain. And then I got a scholarship to a Division II school called Iowa Wesleyan in Iowa. By that time, I was 6 foot, 215 pounds. And my body had caught up to what I thought my talent was. And then I got with a really good coach out there. It was a shitty program, right? They just didn't have enough money. They had I think they had enough for, I could be wrong about this, but at that time they had to break up all their scholarships so that they could get enough guys on the team. And in Division II, you could do that at the end of the day. And so they would give X amount of guy would get a 40% scholarship, and somebody would get a 20, and somebody would get, so yeah, I think I was one of 2 or 3 players on the whole team that had 100%. So I was pretty good coming out of junior college, and I was probably a Division I guy that due to academics couldn't go D1. So I was basically like a D1 bounce back. So I went out there, ended up being an All-American, led the nation in interceptions my senior year, had over 100 tackles both years, but I was at a tiny fucking school. I was at a small school. I ended up getting invited to a Senior Bowl All-Star game. I did really well. Had the most tackles in the game. Didn't get any picks or anything, but it was all right. And then after that, I got signed by a team in France. So it was sold to me by an agent of, oh, this is the fastest way into NFL Europe. And I was like, oh, fucking awesome, right? Like, I had NFL dreams, right? You couldn't have told me that I wasn't going to make it, right?
Wow.
And my credentials had sort of proved that I could play, right? I was fast, I was strong, and I could fucking out hit anybody. And that's all I cared about. That's all. I mean, I broke up with girlfriends. I stayed out of relationships. I cared about nothing but football, right? I could care less about school. My joke is I got a scholarship to college, but my major was football, and I accidentally got an education, you know. So after that, I ended up going to France. I went to a team called the Amiens Spartans. I packed all my shit, 3 big hockey bags full of gear. I flew there. I was supposed to play safety. And basically, I went out to practice. They saw me punt a ball, blew their mind. They saw me throw a ball, blew their mind. I hit like 3 guys on the first couple plays in practice. They had me play middle linebacker, right, which I fucking have never played in my life. And then after I hit those couple guys, they said, all right, now go play tailback. So at this point, the last time I had played offense was my freshman year in high school. I played quarterback in training camp, and that was the last time. So we're looking at 9 years since I had ever been on the offensive side of the ball. So I, got a couple handoffs, took it to the house a couple times, and, everybody was a fucking dick to me. Like, except for the coach. French people do not like Americans. Right. Mm-hmm. Especially Americans that are getting paid considerably more than they are to get there. Mm-hmm. They also didn't have my signing bonus for me. They didn't have my condo ready. I was sleeping in the attic of the head coach's house. They didn't have they didn't have a car for me, which I'm not sure I could have fucking drove over there anyways. And then after that first practice, they brought me into the coaching office and they asked me to rewrite the defensive playbook. Right. Mind you, I don't speak French. So I sort of thought about it. I went back to the fucking attic, and then I came up with this plan to get the fuck out of there. So I packed all my shit. I called my dad, and I'm like, look, this place sucks. I was fucking lied to. These guys, it was like me going back and playing, like being an All-American college football player and playing against like a JV high school team. They were just not good. It was the level of football just wasn't comparable to where I was at or where I wanted to go. And I knew it, and I could recognize it. So I'm like, look, I'm coming home. I need you to figure out. I called my girlfriend at the time. I said, I need you to figure out how to take this return ticket, which was for 6 months later, and figure out how I can use it tomorrow. So she figured it out. She's like, yeah, you pay $75 when you get to the airport. Here's the flight, da-da-da-da. I'm like, cool, done. I woke up the head coach. I said, hey, my dad was in a car accident. I need to go home and take care of him. I fucking lied out of my teeth. And he drove me to the fucking airport the next day. And I fucking flew home as fast as I could. Get home. Thank God I came home. Get home, and one of my coaches was like, hey, you should go try out this Arena League shit. And I was like, all right. So I made a bunch of tapes, right? I made myself like a resume, a football resume. I faxed it to every single NFL team, every single CFL team, and every single arena football team. And at the time, the Lincoln Lightning in Lincoln, Nebraska, I was in Iowa. They called me that day, and I signed the next day via fax, sight unseen. And about 3 weeks later, I jumped in my truck. I fucking drove from Mount Pleasant, Iowa, to the Lincoln, Nebraska, next state over. Fucking went to training camp, signed, played there 3 years. Ended up being all everything my first year, all rookie, all everything my first year. Second year, I had to play a little bit of offense, was all right. And then actually I played there 2 years. And then after that, I signed a 3-year deal with the Toronto Argonauts. I went up there. I ended up getting cut at the end of training camp or getting released. Flew back, played a couple more games back with the Nebraska team. At that time, they were called the Lincoln Capitals. And I think they were in a different league then. I think they were in the IFL then. Played a couple games and then went home and fucking didn't have shit to do. I was bartending. I was very confused on what I was going to do in my life because I put all my apples in one box, right, of being this professional football player, this professional safety. I think I was 23 or 24. I hadn't even like scratched the surface athletically where I thought I would go. And
Wow.
then my buddy was like, "Hey, we should go try out this cage fight and shit." And at the time, it wasn't called MMA, right? It was called like underground fighting or cage fighting.
Mhm.
And he was like, and I was like, I don't know. And he's like, dude, you've done Muay Thai, right? You fight all the time when we go out. He's like, why don't you go learn how to do it for real? And I was like, all right, who is the guy? And he goes, his name's Erik Paulson. I go, I've never heard of him. And he goes, he trains Ken Shamrock. And I was like, oh, fucking Ken
Mhm.
Shamrock. That's dope. Hell yeah, I love Ken Shamrock. And then walked in the gym, and it was a fucking wrap from that day. And that day is now what, fucking 20 years later, and here I am, still here.
Still here, and then not just still here, but like training the next crop. I mean, you're I guess, the second generation of Paulson's, mentorship, and then I mean, you would, theoretically speaking, right?
Well,
If you
I'm the first generation of Paulson mentorship.
holy shit.
Well, I mean, it's him, then it's me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would be first generation under him, but generations back, if you go back to like Guru Danisano, Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Lee. So it's a pretty awesome lineage that I fall under.
And I mean, how well did you adapt? I mean, obviously, you were saying like, well, there's a couple quick, cool things that. I mean, you. This is who Ben Jones is, right? If for those who haven't gotten it already, like you had a pretty sweet deal in France, right? I mean, the money was there. You're
I
making more than a lot of the other guys on your team, and you're like, nah, not.
theoretically, I had a great deal, but I didn't have shit when I got there, and there was no real. I was promised I wouldn't call at the time. At the time, I'm broke as shit. I don't got a dollar
Mm-hmm.
to my name. So at the time, the signing bonus for me, I was like, I'm fucking rich. I'm gonna buy a Ferrari. But trust me, it was considerably low. But at the time, I had $0, so anything was good, and my contract was good. I was gonna spend 6 months in Europe. Like, yeah, I had a car. I had my own condo. I had a grocery allowance. I had a gas allowance. Like, I got to travel to Italy, to Spain, to Germany. Like, yeah, on the surface, it looked fucking awesome, right? Especially as a fucking a kid from the fucking slums. You know what I mean? Like this just thug kid that was growing up, broke as shit. It seemed awesome. It was not that way. Yeah, there was. Yeah, well, it was on paper. It was a great deal. It did not end up being that way, and I sort of knew the writing on the wall. I had been,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had been around hustlers probably long enough to know like this shit ain't gonna turn out, and there's not anything I can do about it over here, right? Like, what if they don't pay me? What the fuck can I do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 21-year-old kid. Like, I just need to get the fuck out of here. So I knew when to pull bait and go.
Yeah, and then that's not the only fucking cool thing. I mean, 3 hockey bags, and then you ended up with the Argonauts. So,
Yeah.
fucking your Canadian roots just kind of permeated, whether you wanted to or not.
I had sort of course, I had visions of grandeur of playing in the NFL, but once I sort of took the route in college that I took, I
Mm-hmm.
sort of knew I was going to end up in the CFL, and I sort of, at a point, that became more of my goal than the NFL, just because realistically, I sort of knew where I was at. You know what I mean? I knew I was climbing an uphill battle, and I knew that I might not have had some of the things that took to play in the NFL. I thought I could have competed, definitely, for sure. I had all the intangibles, but I thought I could have had a really long career in the CFL. And to be honest with you, I probably should have had a long career in the CFL, but there was some unfortunate things that happened up there as far as coaching staffs get fired, whole staff get fired, and that wasn't the staff that signed me to a 3-year
Mm-hmm.
deal. Most guys get a 1-year deal with a 1-year option in the CFL, and I actually got signed to a 3-year deal. And there was a thing in the offseason where I went and worked out, but I got caught on a negotiations list, and team had my rights, but they didn't have to tell me they had my rights. So no other teams were allowed to talk to me. It was a whole thing the next year. And without boring anybody with all the particulars and the politics of professional football, shit happened. And fuck it, maybe I wasn't good enough. At the end of the day, I don't believe that, but I mean, do you ever really believe that about yourself? So at the end of the day, it all led me to what I should have been doing anyways, which is what I'm doing now. I mean, had I stayed away from fighting and never got into MMA, I'd be a football coach right now, right? And I did coach football throughout my fighting career at high schools and stuff around here, and I did like working with the athletes, but I didn't like the fucking. I just didn't. Once I got released and I wasn't playing anymore, I lost my love. I lost my love of football for years and years. Unless I was coaching and watching film, you couldn't talk me into watching a football game.
Wow.
Not at all. Even to this day, I'll turn on a game for maybe a quarter or maybe a couple series, and I'm out. Like it's just not. It's not in it for me. It left a very bad taste in my mouth. It'd be like some chick fucking treating you like shit, and then you got to see her all the time. You're like, nah, I don't want to see that bitch. So that's football's like my ex girl. Like, yeah, that's it.
No, that makes fucking perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. But I mean, that's kind of what social media is, right? Oh, there's a chick. Oh, fuck. I guess whatever.
Yeah, you just don't really want to sit. Somebody's knocking at my door.
Yeah.
People should know better.
I mean, let's see. I mean, who would roll up on Ben? I don't know.
What's up, man? We just cut them.
I was just hoping I can get
hopefully it's an elote truck.
Both on both sides.
You need to go in the backyard?
Yeah, I was just hoping.
Go ahead. The dog's inside. You can go in the backyard.
Cool.
I brought the Rottweiler inside so the Edison guy can look now. It's safe.
No, I was gonna say I mean, hopefully it was like some Girl Scout cookies or an elote man.
I'll murder those. Cookies are my weakness.
I know. That's why I pointed that out. I was like, oh shit, we might have to fucking derail the interview.
Yeah, we might need to do a GoFundMe for some cookies.
Dude, same. But obviously, you and I look a little bit different. I'm a little on the Roten side, so you wear it well. So there's that.
It's just hidden, man. It's just hidden.
No, I mean, your first day in the gym. I mean, again, you knew nothing of Paulson and his history, but I mean, you couldn't have. Especially with as open as your mind is and probably was at the time, like you couldn't have put yourself in a better situation, right? And the fact that that's one not your idol, but definitely one of your MMA or cage fighting heroes in Ken Shamrock. So what was that first day like, and how was it different than what you were used to in football?
It was horrible. My first day was horrible. I mean, at the time there really wasn't any students, but something happened that triggered something in me that is just triggered the inner lunatic in me, right? I'm the guy that I'm a type of guy that, and I've always been that if you tell me I can't do something, or you tell me like you're slow or you're weak or something, I will fucking freak out about it. I will hyper focus on it. I will buy every single thing I can to make myself faster, stronger, punch harder, jump higher, whatever the fuck it is. I mean, to the point that in high school, my coach was like, your vertical is not good. You need to be able to jump. So I bought strength shoes, and I fucking used to wear strength shoes around school, walking around them like an asshole with platforms on the front of his feet because I obsess about something, right? So I walked into this gym the first night. There was a handful of people there, regular dudes like me. I don't think any fighters were there. I don't think there was any fighters at that point. Erik walks in. My friend was a monster. He introduced me, told sort of Erik what I had done. And I took to some stuff naturally because I had done a little bit of Muay Thai and I was a natural fighter. And I had wrestled a tiny bit, but I was a freak athlete compared to the people that were in there. So I didn't know what the fuck a double leg was really, but I was so goddamn explosive that I just football tackled everybody. Right. And I threw huge overhand rights and fucking wind swinging left hooks. But when it hit the ground, I went with this kid. This kid might have been 17 or 18 years old. I remember he was wearing red tap out shorts with the white around the bottom and the white around the top and a red cut off sleeve t-shirt. Right. And he was like a Hispanic kid. At the time, I was probably 225 pounds, 230 pounds. I was fucking jacked, right? I thought I was in great shape. I wasn't great football shape. I was in absolutely horrible fighting shape. And this kid probably weighed 180 pounds. So the coach is like, all right, we're going to roll. And I was like, whatever the fuck that means, right? So we started rolling, and this motherfucker tapped me out like 10 times in like 3 minutes. Like, he was doing shit to me on every limb that I was like, what? I don't even know what's gonna happen. I just feel like something's gonna break. I couldn't breathe, right? And that was the moment that I just took a mental picture of this motherfucker, and I was like, I'm gonna do this until I can kill you. And that was it. And I had nothing against him, right? But he could do something that I couldn't, and by him doing that to me, I took it as a challenge of him saying, "You suck," and I could beat you at this. And for me, I was such a lunatic when it came to competing that I just showed up every single day. And I had seen him; he had come back a couple times, and maybe I had like almost got him a couple times, but that first day, he just put a clinic on me, and I wasn't mad at him, right? I wasn't mad, but I was like, you're my arch nemesis, and you don't even know you're my fucking arch nemesis right now. So that was it. That hooked me that night. And then 6 months later, I had my first pro fight. Right?
Damn, just 6 months.
6 months from the day I walked in the door, I had my first pro fight. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
what was that like?
I had no coaches there, right? I was in Mazatlan partying 2 weeks before, just out of my mind, right? I had like one of the first cell phone. I had the first cell phone I'd ever had, and when I landed back in the States, back at LAX, I got a voicemail, and it was Erik on the phone, and he's saying, "Hey, it's Erik. Hey, you're fighting in 2 weeks. You need to weigh 205, and this is pro." And I was like, okay. Fucking showed up, dude missed weight, ended up fighting at heavyweight, right? I dropped like 25 pounds in 2 weeks. I never had to cut weight in my life. I had no fucking idea. I just sort of fucking did what I thought, showed up, and it was fucking history from there. But funny story is, rewind from today, like maybe 6 years ago. So I've been with Erik about 20 years now. So from the day I walked in, you're talking like 14 years, 13, 14 years. If we're going back 6 years ago now, I fucking walk in a night class. The mats are full, coach is teaching, and I look on the mats and I see a fucking Hispanic dude wearing red tap out shorts with the white on the bottom. And I look and I go, and Tanya's like cruising around. I go, "Hey, Tanya, did that guy used to come into the gym when we first started at our very first gym?" And she's like, "I don't know, but he's known Erik for a while." And I looked at this motherfucker and I was like, that's him. That's that fucking dude. So I slowly went into my locker room. I put on my cup. I grabbed my mouthpiece, and I came out, and I was sort of eyeballing him across the mat. They're still drilling. And then coach is like, "All right, let's roll." And I fucking did one warm-up round with somebody else, got myself nice and loose. And then as soon as I saw coach yell time and switch it up, I fucking got up and I walked across and I go, "Hey, man," I high-fived him. Now, mind you, I'm way smaller now. I have way more tattoos. I look different, right? I look different. And why would he think, oh, the same guy's there 15 years later? Everyone. And I proceeded to put a fucking grappling clinic on this dude. I probably tapped him 40 times in 5 minutes. I mean, I started at the toes and worked my way to his hair. I mean, I was just brutal. I put every catch crank I could put on him. I was submitting his bicep. I mean, whatever it was, I was digging my chin in his eye. And I was a complete dick. But I was, I wasn't trying to hurt him, but I was just like, "No, motherfucker, like, I'm here to prove something to me, and now you're going to know," right? And then Coach O's time, and afterwards he's like, "Holy shit." He's like, "Man, how long you been doing this?" I go, "You don't remember me?" And he goes, "No." I go, "Dude, you beat the shit out of me the first time I ever walked into Erik's gym off Richfield. Like, I was a pro football player." He goes, "Oh, that was you?" And I was like, "Yeah." We ended up bullshitting and talking. He goes, "Dude, you got fucking good." I go, "Dude, it's all because of you, because you fucked me up that night." I go, "You don't even know you've been my arch nemesis for all these years." and I just happened to see you here tonight. I go, I wouldn't have known it was you, but you're wearing those same shorts. He goes, dude, these are the only pair of shorts I've ever had. And I was like, well, those fucking shorts got you in trouble tonight. And that's the fucking truth. That's the story of why I stayed. And yeah, some fucking kid fucked me up on my first night. Choked me fucking 10 different ways.
Oh God! Now I understand why Curtis is the way he is. I understand how Jake is the way. Alandria, Jen Lu, like I totally fucking understand now because
I'm a psychopath. I'm a psychopath when it comes.
Yes.
I create all in my head. I create all these scenarios that are going on that the other people, they just don't know them, right? They probably don't care enough, and I probably shouldn't either, but yeah, I can't help it. I can't turn that switch off. It's just not in me to have that switch off. It's what fuels my fire, right? So fuck it. Seems to be working pretty decent, so I'm gonna stick with it for a while.
I say so. And Fernando Lipe says CSW, hashtag the Badger, hashtag Ben Jones. Couldn't agree more. And
my dude.
Yes, and then Jesse Velasquez, who is also an IFS champion, much like yourself, says Rottweilers are the best.
Goddamn right there are. I've had 7, most of them named after all Rocky characters. I've had Rocky, Drago, Apollo. My wife won't let me name the next one Clubber, but I'll probably talk her into it.
What? Hey, you know what? I got my wife to kind of go in with Owen for Owen Hart. Yeah. So I'm just saying. I mean, I've got a Brett here and a Owen in real life. So there's that.
You guys in the wrestling. Fuck, you guys love it.
Yeah, we're nuts. And then Jesse also says no Amy, just straight pro in 6 months. That's fucking wild.
At that time, there was no Amies. You know, there was smokers. There was a couple smokers, which I showed up to one at a gym called UMMA. It was Jay Martinez's gym. Right?
Shit.
A lot of people thought it was the Shark Tank because he had a Shark Tank sign up because he used to compete on it. But it was UMMA in La Mirada. I showed up. The dude showed up. We weighed in. And then we came back like 3 hours later to fight, and he never showed back up. So I was like, oh, fuck this. And I left. Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, maybe 3 months later is when I had my first pro fight. And it's been a roller coaster since then. You know what I mean?
Hell yes. And Jordan Owen says, that's a good man right there. I couldn't agree with you more.
High school football teammate of mine.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah,
shout out to Jordan. That's dope as shit.
He's a good dude. So, his wife is fighting. I think his wife is about to make her pro debut in Invicta or something like that. Yeah, she's a stud.
Holy shit. Yo, Jordan.
Natalia.
This is on here.
Yeah, for sure. Natalia, I think her name's Natalia, something like that. Yeah. I met her one time at the gym. She came over and sparred, but it was pretty good. She's good.
Fucking A. I'm just saying. I mean, speaking of good, if not great, I mean, yes, you know, the last 3 losses might have not been awesome, but I mean, you guys have at CSW, by intents and purposes, have kind of had the greatest run since, Erik himself was competing.
Yeah, we've been doing good. We have a very good. We've had a very good reputation over the years as being just a really well-rounded team for the most part. A really well-rounded team that is down to fight and down to put on good fights and scrap. And now it's been 3 years since I took over as head coach. I think it just happened the other day. It was a 3-year anniversary when Coach named me head coach. But you know, like I have said to you before, I just changed the dynamic of this and. I just changed the way that I thought fighters should be trained. I've taken my experience through football and team sports and turned that into the structure of how I coach fighting now. As far as we have warm-ups, we have drills, we have positional sparring. We do. Our practices are very structured, and anybody that's ever been into one of my practices, like, I've never seen a fight practice like this. Usually we just come in, hit the bags a little bit, and then spar, or come in and roll. Like, that's not it. Like, I'm in there trying to improve fight IQs and fight intelligence and them know why they're doing what they're doing. I want them to be in queue with me. I want them to almost know what I'm going to say while I'm cornering them before I say it. And I just really want to try to change this game as much as I can and help my guys and girls become the best that they could possibly be. Right. At the end of the day, is I want them to supersede everything that I accomplish in fighting and everything that Erik accomplished in fighting. Like, at the end of the day, if you're a coach that doesn't want your students and fighters to be better than you ever were and completely outshine you, then I don't think you belong in this game as far as coaching, because I believe you have to be very, very unselfish at the end of your, when you become a coach. It's not about you anymore. I could give a shit about the accolades. Now, don't get me wrong. I love them, and I love the fact that I gained some respect around here for being a coach. And even when I go to the UFC and Bellator, I get a decent amount of respect from the people that work there. I treat them good, but at the end of the day, it's all about the fighters, right? It's all about the athletes that I compete with or coach to compete. And that's why I took the job. That's why I'm meant to do this. And a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people say they're a coach, but they don't. They're just because you can teach something doesn't mean that you're a person that should be coaching, right? Unless you're completely unselfish about this, and unless you can remove yourself from these situations when it comes to stuff like this, then you don't belong there. You don't really have their best interest. So, and there's guys out there that are like that.
Yeah, we don't name names, but yes.
No, I wouldn't do that, but they know who the fuck they are, right? If you're listening to this and you're questioning whether you're one of those people or not, you're fucking one of those people, right? So,
yeah. I mean, Ben, you've come a hell of a long way. I mean, 20 years under Erik Paulson. I mean, it's funny because becoming head coach almost mirrors my kind of involvement in all of this thing's fight. So it's kind of awesome. But let's get some shout outs and acknowledgments out of the way.
Obviously, I always shout out Erik. That man taught me his life's work for free. I paid for the first 3 months that I went in there, $50 a month cash. And then after 3 months, he told me, you don't have to pay anymore. Just show up every day. And I fucking did. Right. And I wouldn't be here today had it not been for, like I said, that man teaching me his life's work for nothing. And he wasn't guaranteed any kind of return on that. Right. There was nothing. Obviously, I want to shout out my team. I believe I have probably the most loyal, dedicated team on earth. And I ask these guys to do a lot of shit. And I'm not the easiest guy to fight for. I am not the easiest guy to be on his team. I'm demanding. And they step up every single day. Right. And I wouldn't trade not one of them in for anybody. Right. Obviously, I want to thank people like you who are always out there giving us an avenue to talk about not only CSW, but fighting in general, and just, stories and stuff. I always enjoy spreading stories with you and also with the guys like Dondo and those guys when they have me into that show. Hopefully we can get back together and do that show again here pretty soon. And obviously like Mike and Dale and my wife and my kids and all that, and Tanya Paulson, who's my manager, and obviously Iridium. There's just so many people that I could name for shout outs, but trust me, I'm not fucking done doing this coaching thing, and I just got started, and I'm going to try to do my best to take over not only Southern California, but as much. I want to collect all the souls of all the coaches around. I want them to fear me and CSW when we walk in the building. And that's not from a cocky standpoint. That's from I'm challenging myself to try to be the best at something, right?
And that's what everybody should do, and especially in terms of sportsmanship and gamesmanship. That's exactly what you want. You want your opponent, your opposition, or to be as good as they can be, because what does that mean win if they're not at their very best?
And I'm always respectful. Like I never had an issue with anybody that I ever fought. Right. In 17 fights, I never had a confrontation with somebody. It was always, very sportsmanlike at the end. But at the end of the day, just like everybody I fought and just like everybody that I coach against, I'm in there to fuck you up at the end of the day. That's all I want. Even when I grapple or even when I spar, like, I'm trying to fuck you up. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I'm trying to fuck you up. This is the fight game, right? But I try to do that with as much respect, and I believe like I'm fairly well respected by other coaches. I don't really have issues with any other coaches. There is some chicken shit motherfuckers out there, right, who are liars and not in it for the right thing, and they're in it more for themselves. And I have no respect for people like that. But for the most part, I really respect a lot of the teams and coaches that are out there, you know. But at the end of the day, we're still there to fuck you up, you know. That's the business.
No, and Jordan Owen took the words right out of my mouth. 100%, absolutely. Thank you for filling in the gaps, Jordan. But for those who want to fill in the gaps in terms of, you know, everything that is Ben Jones, everything that is CSW, and just what you guys are doing, what is the best way to contact you guys?
The best way to contact me is probably through Instagram. I mean, nowadays, I mean, that's the way to do it. So check me out at the Badger Jones. I'm always putting stuff up about fight stuff. You might even get to see one of my freaky ass kids come in there and do his hyper athletic stuff. Trust me, they're my retirement plan. I can't keep coaching fighting forever, but I'm gonna get one of these kids to do something here pretty special. Yeah, the Badger Jones on Instagram. I don't really use Twitter. That's sort of the young man's game. This old dog's 44 years old. He's not really hip on that. Obviously, I have a Facebook page, Ben Jones. We have Facebook. We also have the CSW Training Center, ErikPaulson.com. There's a bunch of information on there. I'm contemplating starting a CSW Badger Crew page on Instagram. That's just like pictures of all the guys, anybody that wants to get a hold of us, anybody that wants to come for a tryout or come for a workout, see what it's like. Anybody who wants to get a hold of me. And that's about it. And for any fighters that are out there, my doors are always open for somebody that wants to come and try it out. I will say it's not the easiest day that you're going to have, but I think that if you come in there one time and you see how practices run and you see the bond that team has, that you will know that something special is happening here and you'll want to be a part of that. So I'm always trying to add bullets to my gun belt. So my doors are open.
I love it. And Jesse says there's always respect in everything, you know, until you get fucked up. And Twitter sucks. Twitter fucking sucks. Yeah, because
he's right. He's right. I tried to
use in this very fucking video, and that shit wasn't it. So I went with the CSW page, and they retweeted it. So shout out to them.
There you go. Smart man right there.
It is always a pleasure to talk with you. And he actually, right before we went on, just hit me up. So, oh yes, guys, Curtis Molinder, one of Jen's prize pupils, ahead of his fight with Joe Schilling next Thursday for Bellator, will be right here at According to Woods. So go ahead and check out the social medias. But I'm According to Woods with the Badger, Ben Jones.
Thank you, guys.
We are out.
Hey, this is